members.
We may have lost her. I believe what she was about to say is that panel members are encouraged to use the raise hand feature if you have comments or questions. Also, please identify yourselves when you speak. Name and agency is preferred. And just a gentle reminder is that we don't use the chat function for recommendations panel meetings because of Open Records Act rules. So I'll just keep going until we find Cornelia again. So today's agenda, we're going to go through the approval of the August agenda, and there was a...
I am here.
There you go. Good
job.
I'm
not quite sure what happened. I was just busy talking, and then I was talking to myself, so I'm not quite sure what happened. Sorry about that. So we're going to go through the agenda. As we're going through the agenda, panel members, please remember to identify yourselves when you speak. We do have people who are watching virtually, and we want them to know everybody that's talking. Also, it's not required, but we would request that you raise your hands if you are ready to share or would like to comment. But again, that's not a requirement. To go over today's agenda, we will have our initial welcome, approval of the August agenda, approval of our July meeting minutes, the Kansas Opens Forum, and then our collaboration survey presentation. We will have a presentation on the 1-800-Children and Parent Leadership Conference presentation. Bright spots, we all have an opportunity to share the bright spots and wonderful things that are happening within our communities and our organizations. We'll discuss upcoming meetings, and then our meeting will adjourn. This is not going to be as long of a meeting as we typically have. We won't have breakout sessions, et cetera, but we will have great presentations or whatnot to review. So the first thing that we need to do is approve our August agenda. There was a change, a modification to the August agenda. The initial agenda had that it was a family leadership conference that was going to be a presentation regarding the family leadership conference. That's been changed to a parent leadership conference. And so do we have approval of the August agenda with that modification? Who would like to make a motion?
This is Amy Meek, and I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Perfect. Do we have a second?
This is Jennifer
McLean. I second.
Okay, perfect.
Everybody seconds.
Okay, and so all those in favor of approving the agenda, you can give a thumbs up emoji and or thumbs up with your hand. That'd be great. Looks like we are unanimous. Anybody that is opposed, same sign. Okay, our August agenda is approved. Hannah's also sent out the July minutes. Did anybody note anything that needed to be changed or amended or revised from the July minutes? If not, may I have a motion to approve the July minutes?
Cornelia, this is Jennifer Francois. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Cornelia, this is Jennifer Adema. I second.
Perfect, perfect. All those in favor of approving the July minutes, thumbs up emoji and or thumbs up with your hands. Anyone opposed? All right, so our July minutes are approved. We do encourage people on a monthly basis during our meetings to actually submit questions or comments or give presentations before the panel. And I don't believe that we have anybody slated to present or speak today. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. No open forum comments were received.
Okay, perfect. All righty. And so if in fact you would like to actually comment or have give information to the panel, you are encouraged to email Hannah at hmcgahey@ksde.org. And so we do encourage people to give feedback, comment, etc. At any time. And so please do so if you're interested. Our first presentation of the day is going to be about it's the early childhood systems collaboration analysis from the surveys that were completed. We have Chris Tilden and Shishmita Samadar from the University of Kansas Center for Public Partnership and Research. And so thank you both for being here. I'm looking forward to hearing the presentation.
Thank you so much, Cornelia. Can everyone hear me okay? Great, fantastic. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to talk with all of you this morning. And also thank you all for participating in this effort. We have, for some of you who have been on the panel for 2 years, I think you have now completed this survey 4 times, and we've had great participation. So thank you so much. I think the good news is that we probably will not replicate this survey for year 3 of the panel, but we'll kind of take a different tack. So for those of you who are having survey fatigue from participating in our collaboration survey, we hopefully will be letting you off the hook this year. But we're very excited to be here this morning and to present some of this information and to talk with you about how this might be is to drive decision making. Collaboration, both at the state and the local level, are primary goals in our All In for Kansas Kids strategic plan. So we feel like assessing collaboration at both the state and local level is a really important part of this work. And for those of you who are new to the panel, yeah, both Sushmita and I are part of the applied research team at the University of Kansas Center for Public Partnerships and Research, and are involved because we have been coordinating the evaluation of the preschool development grant or PDG funded efforts for the last 2 years, and as such have been doing this analysis, which we think is really some really interesting results. So let's get to those results. If you can move to the next slide. As a little bit of a reminder for those of you who have participated, and as some background for those of you who may have not, this survey, the assessment has been, we've used 2 evidence-based tools as part of this process, one of which is called the Wilder Collaboration Factors Inventory, and the second, the Levels of Collaboration Scale. So the Wilder inventory is kind of a traditional Likert scale type of survey that looks at 6 factors that are known to contribute to positive collaboration. 3 of these are on screen here. One is around the environment. Is there a history of collaboration in the community? Do we have the right leaders at the table? Do we have the right political and social climate to pursue change? In terms of membership, we have an appropriate cross-section of representation. Do we have a group that has shown an ability to collaborate by compromising on important aspects of the work? Do we have a good process and structure in place? Are there clear roles and responsibilities? Is there shared purpose? Next slide, please. And the last 3 aspects, one is communication. Is there open, frequent communication? Are there both formal and informal communication among members of the group? Purpose, do we ensure that we have a unique purpose and one that is shared by the group? And lastly, and very important, do we have the sufficient resources to do the work? Next slide. So these are the scores for those 6 domains. And just a couple of quick remarks. If you look at the surveys that have been done, it says survey 1, 2, 3, and 4. Survey 1 was conducted at the very beginning the very first year, in that first or second month when the panel was convened for the first time. Then we replicated the survey at the end of the year with that panel year 1, that was survey 2. And then surveys 3 and 4. 3 was the survey done at the beginning of panel year 2. And the 4th survey you all just completed a couple of months ago. Just what we'd say about this is, generally speaking, a score above 3 is considered to be high functioning. You know, if scores are below 3, that generally indicates an opportunity for improvement. So the scores that have been collected here generally indicate that there's a perception that we are doing well and that we've got strong collaboration. Those scores were a bit lower when we first did this survey 2 years ago with the new panel, but subsequently, all 3 surveys that have been done since that time, you know, scores have been around a 4, which is an extraordinarily high score. Move to the next slide, please. Then, as I noted, we've also done the levels of collaboration scale, which looks at this issue a little bit differently. It approaches collaboration on a 5-point scale, with 1 being what they call networking, which means that there's really loosely defined roles. There's not a lot of communication. All decision-making is independent. And then at each level, you know, collaboration, cooperation increases. So by the time you get to level 5, that is indicative of a situation in which both respondents indicate we belong to one system, there's ongoing communication, there's full consensus. So anything in between. And we always emphasize that this is a judgment-free tool. It's not like 1 is bad and 5 is good, but it indicates kind of the intensity of relationships between the organizations that participate in a given coalition or collaboration. Next slide. Just threw in an example of the survey itself, particularly for those of you who haven't seen this before. So the way this works is that, you know, when you are responding to this survey, on the left-hand side is several of the organizations that are part of the panel, and each respondent scores their level of interaction with each of those groups. So you can say we do not interact at all. You know, we interact at a network level. Again, really very loose coordination, if any coordination, very little communication, no shared decision making, and up the line. So you score the relationship of your organization to every other organization that is part of the group that's responding to the survey. Next slide. So these are really interesting findings, and and again, we've got the four surveys beginning with the very first time that we did this 2 years ago, and at that point the average score was a 1. In other words, the average score was at that networking level with very loosely defined relationships, very little communication, you know, very little joint decision making. By the end of year 1, that score had increased fairly significantly, almost close to a 2, which is cooperation, which means that there are somewhat defined roles. You know, there is some formal communication, and generally speaking, decision making is still independent, but a much higher level of collaboration. Interestingly, when we surveyed the new panel at the beginning of year 2, and again, I know that quite a few of you from year 1 continued on to the second year. but there was some were new members that were added. That score dropped back kind of closer to the networking level of 1.2. But at the end of year 2, that had also then rebounded, closer to level 2 on average. Next slide. This is just a kind of a different way of looking at the data, and I think in some ways more interesting. And it shows the actual number of connections. So if you look at the gray bar on the left-hand side, this is based on the relationship at a level 3 or higher. So if someone indicated, so in year 1, they're on average, when someone completed this survey, they indicated that 5 of the organizations on the panel, they had a level of collaboration at a level 3 or higher, which is level 3. The word they use for that is coordination, which refers to the sharing of resources, fairly well-defined roles, frequent communication, and some shared decision-making. So when we first began this process, respondents on average said that their organization had kind of that higher level of relationship with 5 other organizations on the panel. Really interesting to me that by the end of year 1, this score had also doubled, and an average respondent said of the 40 organizations in the panel, over 11 of those organizations, we have a cooperative, a coordinated relationship where we have defined roles, frequent communication, some shared decision-making. It's really a considerable increase in the course of a year. I think is really interesting. Again, in year 2, as we saw with the average scores on level of collaboration, that dropped back to closer to close to a 6, but also then had increased to over 10 by the end of year 2. This really, to me, does show that, not only is there a perception of strong collaboration within this group, but it really has been a vehicle for you all to develop strong working relationships with other members of the panel. And for someone like myself in public health who really believes in the power of relationships, it's really interesting and I think heartening to see these increases in scores during over the time that the panel has been working together. Next slide. So I'm going to wrap up and then turn it over to Sushmita, but some of the key insights that we found and that you would note in those earlier slides was, yes, we saw very much an increase in connectedness in each year of the panel with a significant increase in the number of connections. In fact, if you look at year 1 and if you looked at each organization, there were actually 3 organizations that indicated that they had made 20 connections at that level, that coordination level of 3 or higher, and another 5 had gained 10 to 19 connections. And we saw very similar results in year 2, with 2 organizations again establishing over 20 connections and 5 organizations gaining 10 to 19 connections. So you all have really utilized the work of the panel, but it also has really helped increase the interaction that you all have with each other as members of the early childhood system in the state. So really, really, really interesting results. Certainly changes in the composition of the panel influence connectiveness. And so I'm actually going to turn it over to Sushmita to share a little bit more information and also kind of talk a little bit about what we think some of the lessons learned from these data are. Sushmita, turn it over to you.
Thanks, Chris. Can everyone hear me? Awesome. So it was actually next slide. Maybe, yeah. It was really interesting to look at and analyze the levels of collaboration scale scores and the Wilder scores to understand the relationships that were built through this network. But in addition to the data on the scores, we also asked open-ended questions on the experiences of the panel members. And we learned some really interesting things. So first off, there is a lot of excitement on the way the panel meetings have been formatted this year. Specifically, some members commented that the new format may allow for higher engagement among members, including new or incoming members or even members that may be a little bit more introverted. Next slide. Secondly, it was acknowledged that despite collaborative activities being really hard, the work done by the panel was truly supportive of the goals that were set by the members of the panel. Next slide. And finally, there were a lot of comments discussing the composition of the work groups and appreciating just how well the groups have been created and how productive these groups have been in achieving some of the goals that were set. Next slide. There were also some comments that provided insight into places where the collaboration could be richer or even more fulfilling. Some commented that they would like to see a bit more ethnic diversity on the panel, and they would love to brainstorm on how effectively they can engage communities of color. There was also some acknowledgement that new and returning members may need some more explanation on the purpose of the panel and the expectations on their participation. Additionally, there could be work or activities that may be being duplicated across work groups. So building some more discussion on the clarity of purpose for new members may help increase engagement even more. There were some comments that discussed that family engagement could improve and panel members could be a bit more open-minded in certain cases as well. Next slide. So what's next? Well, some of the answers to what's next were already provided by panel members in the comment section of our survey. So firstly, building some more activities to engage communities of color could help improve ethnic diversity on the panel. There could also be some more concerted efforts on family engagement through participating in the Standards for Strengthening Families training by the National Family Support Network. Finally, building in ways to communicate and interact across working groups could ensure that the work is not getting duplicated at any point in time. Next slide. Next slide. There were also some steps that could be taken to preserve high levels of connectedness where there is a change in the composition of the network. So we learned from Chris's presentation that there was always a little bit of a drop in connectedness of the network when there are compositional changes to the network. And some potential actions could help mitigate that. For example, we can coordinate introductions between incoming or new organizations with key organizations that we already know are very highly connected. A similar exercise can be done to introduce new organizations to other highly mobile organizations that have demonstrated significant increase in connections over the past year. So we learned that there were, a couple of organizations, like 2 or 3 organizations in each year that gained like more than 20 connections, right? That really is massive, a significant increase for them. And so learning some lessons from how these highly mobile organizations have been able to build connections can also help sort of build a much more interactive and highly engaged network in the future as well. Next slide. And we also wanted to quickly talk about the collaboration study that we conducted with 26 local interagency coordinating councils in 2018 to 2019. So we found on average statewide Wilder scores to be around 4. And this suggests a perception of a fairly high functioning system from the participants. Next slide. But when we look at the levels of collaboration scale, however, we see some significant variance across participating LICCs, suggesting that there could be unique ways in which these local interagency coordinating councils are functioning that lend towards higher collaboration among some and much lower collaboration among others. Next slide. So understanding this sort of pattern that we see in the data, we are now planning to delve much deeper into the analysis on the collaboration of LICCs by examining the drivers of network collaboration. So basically trying to understand what influences greater collaboration among LICCs. Is it composition? Does composition of the network matter? Or is it a perceived like performance of the program that may influence higher collaboration as well? And then we also plan to examine the impact of network collaboration. So how does it affect referrals? Or how does it in fact affect program activities? Next slide. And we've really been very heartened by the participation of the panel members in these surveys, because it's given us an opportunity to look into the relationships that are being built through the activities of the working group and the panel as a whole. And we're very excited to continue building on this analysis in the future and presenting to you our findings as we go along. And finally, thank you so much for the opportunity to go through this work. And if I missed any remaining points, back to you, Chris.
No, just I want to thank all of you for participating. I think it was in part our excitement about doing this work with all of you as we were talking about how it is that we evaluate the growing collaboration at the local level, that we realized that because of the Part C needs assessment back in 2018 and 2019, we had baseline data on the local interagency coordinating councils, which represent a lot of the early childhood stakeholders in those communities and those 30 plus networks around the state. So we really are looking forward to that next level of analysis. And looking to continue to share that information with you and talk about how that can drive decision making. And with that, I think we'll stop and field any questions or observations that you all may have.
Well, Chris and Shishmita, I would like to thank you both for your work in putting all of this together. It's interesting to see, the growth in terms of the committee. I know that like this past year, there was definitely a huge sense of accomplishment when we're actually seeing recommendations come to fruition. When we're seeing, that it's not just, there's committees that you're part of that like we just all talk and we're all part of the same, the same community. So we just say the same things over and over, but nothing ever happens. And to actually see the end result, of the collaboration, of the recommendations, et cetera, has been something that's exciting. And I love seeing that reflected. I think we're seeing that reflected on our scores. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, well, again, thank you both very much for giving the presentation and again, for your hard work and pulling all this together.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
All right, next we will have Pam Noble and Caitlin Moore from the Kansas Children's Service League, who are going to share information about 1-800-Children and the Parent Leadership Conference.
Thanks, Cornelia.
Thanks.
I'm Pam Noble with Kansas Children's Service League, and I'm going to just get us started. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Parent Leadership Conference, which is on the next slide. So the Parent Leadership Conference is really a collaborative effort from a variety of agencies across the state. The Head Start Association, KPERC, Families Together, KCSL are kind of the lead planning team, so to speak, but we have a large agency that includes migrant education. It includes KDHE, DCF, KSDE, and some parent leaders. So it's really a collaborative effort across the state. We're excited. We haven't done it in person since 2019, and we're really excited to come back in person. The conference will be November 4th and 5th at the Hotel Topeka at City Center, which used to be called the Capitol Plaza. So in case you're wondering where that actually is. The conference has 3 primary objectives: to provide tools for families to make beneficial decisions for themselves, their children, and their communities; to provide opportunities for the parent voice to be raised in a conference setting with peers; and to empower families to understand the importance of family engagement and its link to the educational success for all children. We really strive to include a parent voice in all of our presentations. We generally have 2 keynotes. The conference is a Friday and a Saturday morning. So we usually begin with a keynote on Friday, and then we have some different workshop sessions, and then we end with a parent cafe community conversation type setting and a family dinner. And then Saturday, we also have a keynote, and we do a parent advocacy panel and some parent testimony on Saturday as well. Participation is around 225 parents and 125 children. The conference is free for families to attend. Families that live more than 50 miles one way from Topeka, we do reserve 100 complimentary hotel rooms. We also provide a childcare piece for about 6 months to 12 years. Generally under 6 months, parents keep babies with them. They don't have to, but that seems to be the trend. The childcare is overseen by Capital City nannies, so we do know that we have qualified people. And we're working on adding a teenage track this year. Lots of times we have teenagers that accompany their parents to the conference, and they usually just hang out on their phones or whatnot, which is great. It's great to see them, but we thought it might be a great opportunity to provide some different learning opportunities for them. Our children's portion in 2019 was amazing. One of my staff planned the whole thing. We did a touch-a-truck. We had Fred the preparedness dog from KDHE. We had the Humane Society. We had Kyler from the library, which if you live in Topeka, you just know Kyler from the library. I don't even know his last name, but when I tell people Kyler from the library, people in Topeka all know who that is. We really strive to provide a great family environment. We have a lot of families that attend that have never stayed in a hotel before, so it's really exciting. We always pray that the pool is open because that is a huge part. In 2019, there was a hockey game going on, so we did buy some hockey tickets and sent a large number of our families to the hockey game that on Friday evening. This year, I guess the rodeo is in town, so we'll see how that shakes out. That might be kind of fun as well. Registration will open in mid-September. It tends to fill pretty fast. Our hotel rooms tend to fill pretty fast. We will get that information out. The save the date went out already. If you didn't receive it and you want it, you're welcome to contact me. Just know that after this meeting, I'm gone till Wednesday. So if you email me this week, if you email me, I won't respond till Thursday. Again, it's a really great opportunity. We're really excited. We are funded through the Preschool Development Grant. Jane Groff at KPERC had some funds, and then KDHE had some funds as well. So those are our funding sources. We usually get a little bit of other additional funding. Families Together always has some. We have a little bit of funding through one of our grants from the cabinet. So we're really excited. Do you have questions about that before I turn over to Caitlin? Okay, If you think of questions as you go on, you can certainly email them to me. Registration will open and it will be online, like I said, and we're just really excited this year to bring it back. I've worked at KCSL for 17 years, the end of July, and I will tell you that in the 17 years that I've been here, this is probably the most, it's probably one of my favorite things. It has a lot of life-changing opportunities for the parents as well as I think for the professionals. It's always refreshing to come and to really listen to parents, to hear their questions, and to provide that environment where they really feel like they can ask whatever they want. So again, we're really excited. You can email me with questions, and I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin Moore, who is our community engagement and marketing coordinator for 1-800-CHILDREN, and she's going to give you some additional information about that.
Thanks, Pam. Like Pam said, I'm Caitlin Moore. I'm the Community Engagement and Marketing Coordinator for 1-800-CHILDREN. For anyone who might not know, we are a 24/7 judgment-free parenting support call line and resource directory. Our goal is to come alongside community organizations and individuals who are also supporting families to offer an added layer of support. So families can connect with us in 4 different ways. That's by phone, by calling 1-800-CHILDREN, online at 1-800-CHILDRENKS.org, by text or email, and through our mobile app. So with a variety of options for connection, families are able to seamlessly connect with resources and support they need 24/7, even if what they need in that moment is a listening ear. So you can go to the next slide. A few updates since we last presented. We are continuing to improve our callers' experience and expand our outreach efforts across the state. So in June, all 4,400 licensed childcare providers received 1-800-CHILDREN promotional materials in the mail. We had help with that from KDHE. 1-800-CHILDREN was chosen to be a part of the Help Me Grow National Goal Concordant Care Learning Community. And that is going to be a year-long learning community based around extensive motivational interviewing training for all of our call line staff. We are also part of the Family Strong Project in Southeast Kansas, so we'll have some more updates coming up with that. And in the last 3 months alone, 23 new counties that have never received promotional items from us requested them. And that was separate from the promotional materials provided by KDHE to all the childcare providers. So a lot of great things in the work for us. We're still making those outreach efforts and getting the word out about us. You can go to the next slide. And as a reminder, with school starting back up, now is a really good time to make sure programs are updated in the resource database. So if you've already claimed a program or manage your program, you can do this on your own, or you can also suggest a change for someone else if you notice some incorrect information listed on the site by using that suggest feature on the program cards. And if you need help updating your program, we have this quick reference guide for providers, which goes step by step through how to update or claim a program. And if you shoot me an email, I can get that sent to you as well. Again, this is a screenshot of our app. We are still using this constantly. It's the mobile version of what you would see in our resource database if you visit us online. So feel free to download that. A couple other reminders about materials that we can provide. We have a search bar that can be directly embedded on any partner's website. When a person types in their zip code, they're automatically redirected to our site to be able to find resources in their area. And in addition, we have a hyperlinked graphic that when clicked will redirect them to our site. So if you want to add those, reach out as well. We also have social media posts available in various sizes for different platforms, along with pre-written captions on our file share site, which contains a variety of resources for partners without the issues of email and Dropbox limits. Next on. The family outreach card is available to share electronically and in print form. They are available in English and Spanish. And we also have magnets, palm cards, hand sanitizers, anything you can think of. So if you want to share these things with other professionals, other families in your communities, I actually have on the next slide a way that you can order. And I will put the order form link in the chat, or you can scan the QR code with your camera. But if you go to the site, I can add you to the file share site once you put in your information, and you can also request printed promotional materials when you go there. So, and that's all I have for you.
Well, thank you both. I can say that at our schools, we've actually had parents who have attended the Parent Leadership Conference, and every year they are excited to stay at a hotel and take their families, and all of that is fun. But more than that, the benefit of being around other parents, who are all experiencing the same things, to realize that they're not by themselves. Parenting is hard, and so it's actually been an amazing opportunity for them. For the social media partners, I have a question. For the partners, do you have something where we can actually put stuff on our Facebook page with this, and how do we access that? Like if we wanted to put the 1-800-CHILDREN info or that kind of stuff, like on our social media.
Yeah, I have the social media files are in that file share site. So
Okay,
if you go
perfect.
to the order form that I just dropped in the chat, you can fill all your information out, and I will send you an email with your login, and then you'll have direct access to a sized Facebook social media post.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions or comments for KCSO? Okay, I do not think so. Well, thank you both for sharing and providing info. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is bright spots. We would love our panel members to be able to share any new or exciting things happening within your organizations, within your community, and anything you want everybody to know. Please share. All right, I see Jennifer.
Hi, everybody. This is Jennifer Forker with Hutchinson Community College, and I am excited to announce that Kaleidoscope, which is our 6-hour professional development day for childcare providers, is back on the calendar for the first time in 2 years. We had to take a break, obviously, for COVID, but we are back, and we are set to do our day on September 24th. And it's not necessarily a statewide invitation, but we did send out invitations to surveyors in about 15 counties that are surrounding Reno County. We are limiting it to 150 people, and I am assuming that will fill up very quickly based on all the phone calls and emails that I have received overnight since it just went out yesterday. So we are excited to have the Kaleidoscope program back up and looking forward to seeing people face to face again.
Sounds amazing. Thank you, Jennifer. All right, Tanya.
I just wanted to share, this is Tanya Bullock with Child Start. This past week, we had a big moment, and Chris might be excited about this because I think it really ties into his survey and talking about collaborations, networking, and connectiveness. We have what's called the MICV, and if you haven't heard of that, but MICV is up for reauthorization. It's the Maternal, Infant, and Early Childhood Home Visiting Program, and it focuses on home visiting models that prioritize families that are living in at-risk communities. And Jennifer Adema and Callie Hoffman are on here, and they can help add to it. But we learned recently that it is up for reauthorization, and it is expiring September 30th, 2022. And there are not a lot of programs in Kansas who are currently funded under this program, or this funding. So we had the opportunity to bring Congressman Estes to Child Start this past Monday, and he was very, very open and very engaged in listening to 3 of our programs. We had Child Start's Early Head Start program, we had Derby's Parents as Teachers, and then KCSL's Healthy Families program. And we didn't just want the local representation, but I thought it was important to pull together statewide partners to really show that support all across the state. And I will tell you, if we didn't have all of us there in full force, I don't know that we could have answered all of his questions. So the fact that we were all there, we were really able to answer to the qualitative and the quantitative questions that he was asking. And I think we really hit it. So I just want to say thank you to those who were there and supporting us. But I think it really shows to what I said on day one when this group started back up again. It really is about the networking that we were able to pull this together so quickly, and it was very last minute, but we pulled it together. And you still have a chance, if you do have home visiting programs, to try and pull some folks together and share what you do, and hopefully we can get it reauthorized.
Very good. Thank you, Tanya. All right, Logan, I believe that you're next.
Hello, my name is Logan Stenthing, and I'm a policy coordinator with the Zero to Thrive Coalition. And I just wanted to uplift a bright spot that this week I attended a relational organizing training that was offered by Kansas Action for Children, and there was a lot of other stakeholders there that are a part of the field. And it was just an exceptional event where we learned about, training from how to organize a proper meeting so folks will attend again, to making those one-on-one asks, to really building power and building relationships that are accountable and long-term and are open to all, in the sense of trying to get more folks involved and in this space, advocating for children and advocating for supports for families. And I think that I just got a lot of really great energy from it. I think it was a great collaborative event, and we are going to have some follow-up conversations as well. But I wanted to uplift that because of how important it is to the work, and very aligned with, similar to how Tanya was talking about, acts just like what they were doing there. And I think we should be doing that everywhere across Kansas, and welcoming as many more people into the space to show them that, their self-interest, all of our self-interest aligns in this subject, and that we should, elevate our voices more to our state legislators, to our local elected officials, and to all decision makers that have a power and authority to invest into support this field. So if anyone would ever like to talk more about that, I would love to be in relationship with you, because I think that this group is a great body of people that we should be brainstorming about this all of the time. So thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you for sharing, Logan. And Ms. Brenda.
Thank you. And thank you, Logan. I've heard good things about the training, so that's nice to see. And we're also in Iola, so we're right across the street from you. But it's nice. I wanted to share that we have an exciting new technical training that we are putting out for those who support childcare providers. Thanks to funding from Child Care Aware of Kansas. Thank you, Kelly. We are able to offer 2 online, we're calling them technical trainings, to help those of you who work directly with childcare providers to better understand infant feeding in the childcare setting. And this is going to be informed by the almost 10 years that we've been training childcare providers, the feedback that we've received from over 5,000 childcare providers who have completed our training. This is a chance to say, what are they asking about? What are they saying are the barriers for supporting breastfeeding in the childcare setting? What are the new recommendations from the AAP? What are the regulations from CACFP around this? And we're really going to break it down so that the people who support childcare providers are able to answer those more technical questions. So this is not for childcare providers, but for those who support them. We continue to provide the 2-hour training through Casito for childcare providers. But this is for those of you who may have staff who answer questions from childcare providers. It's free. It'll be 2 hours online, November 15th from 1:30 to 3:30, and again on February 9th from 10 to 12. So if you would like more information about how to register your staff, please reach out at info@ksbreastfeeding.org. And I'm not sure if I can put it in the chat. Don't know what the rules are, but I'm happy to answer any questions. That's info@ksbreastfeeding.org. And thanks again to Child Care Aware of Kansas for their support of this.
Well, thank you, Brenda. Do we have any other bright spots? I think I got everybody. I don't see any other hands raised. So for upcoming meetings, all of our meetings will continue to be via Zoom. We have our Children's Cabinet and Trust Fund meeting, which will be on Friday, October 7th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The Early Childhood Group meeting will be on Friday, October 7th from 1:30 to 3 o'clock. And our next Early Child Recommendations panel will be Friday, September 16th from 9 o'clock to 11:30 a.m. If we have no further comments or questions or anything that anyone would like to share, I'd like to again thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend today's meeting. Thank you to everybody that gave presentations today. I felt like we got a lot of good information that we could all use in terms of helping our children and families that we serve, or the children and families in our state. And so thank you again for sharing all of your information. I hope that you all have a wonderful weekend and a great month until we see you in September. Take care, everyone.
Hi, everyone.